And good evening, everyone. I'm Bill Rowland. Welcome into the Men's Basketball Coaches Show with Kim English here at the Capital Ale House, right around the corner from Eagle Bank Arena and George Mason campus here in Fairfax. Coach, again, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for coming out. Good to see you. We've got the good show lined up. Davon Cooper's going to stop by. I know we're excited about that. Also take a look back at the games that we've played since the last Coaches Show and a look ahead. George Washington coming up on Wednesday and then homecoming on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody here that came out to the show today and also everybody watching at home. We appreciate it as well. So, Coach, let's go ahead and dive right into these games that we want to look back on. Kind of a mixed bag as far as the results go, 2-2 since the last Coach's Show. First one out of the gate was the UMass win at home, 70-59. Thought you guys played a really good second half in that game, over 50% shooting from the field in that ball game.
Yeah, they got off to a good start. I know Frank really well. He coached against me when I was a player. He was at Kansas State. I was Missouri. I got to coach against him in the SEC. And his teams, they want to have more possessions than you, by taking the ball from you by offensive rebounding. And they want to disrupt what you do by being in the passing lane. So it's kind of a different style. But the guys did a really good job of adjusting. And I thought they played a really good game there in the second half and in the first half and throughout the second half. Really good game, good night for Justin Fernandez. He had 18 points. He played well. Malik has been really good and consistent, giving us some really good minutes.
Yeah, Justin Fernandez, career high 18 that game, and Davon Cooper will be here tonight, a career high 8 assists in that ball game as well. He's done a really good job this season of being able to find guys when he's getting crowded, can't get his shots. He's finding the open man.
No, he is. Coop's done everything we asked him to do. He's really done maybe more than he's ever done defensively, for us this season. And I do think it's taken away a bit from his offensive game. When we talked about him coming back for this last year, it was under the gaze of him maybe getting to play some less minutes, getting his minutes down to 25, 26, but he's up to 33. So I haven't lived up to my end of that deal, but he's been great. He's been, he's going to reach over 1,500 points here in one game, hopefully. He'll reach over 1,500 points, over 300 assists. He's just an all-around really good player.
Talk about that number, the 1,500 points, and we'll talk to him about it. That's a rarefied air for college players. I mean, a lot of guys that are playing at this level in D1, they may get to that point in high school because they're able to dominate guys that maybe aren't as athletic or small or whatever. But to get 1,500 points, even with the extra year that he had with COVID, that's still a remarkable number.
Yeah, what it means is, and you see it less and less in our game, is the availability first and foremost. For him to stick to it mentally, the season is long, physically. Everyone's hurt, everyone's, injured. To be available, to be known on the scouting report and still find ways to have success, it's a kudos to Coop. And really expecting a good end to his super senior season.
Next, headed out to Loyola of Chicago. A tough one because you guys were able to get to the free throw line a ton in this game and shot it really well, close to 80% on the game, but just never seemed to be able to catch Loyola Chicago in that second half. And again, it was one of those games, kind of like the GW game at home, that I felt like had you gotten it tied or taken a lead, that game ends up in a different result.
Yeah, we were right there, and the word traumatic may be a little bit dramatic, but, playing that game without two of our guys, VJ and Ticket are now down, and everyone has to adjust and play a different way, a new style. Playing on the road is difficult everywhere in college basketball, but you're playing against a desperate team. They were 1-8, whatever it was at the time. They're at home, and we couldn't make the plays at the end to win the game. I felt like we were going to win the game all the way through. As ugly as it was, we were getting fouled quite a bit. We've been getting fouled quite a bit, maybe the second or third most in the league. But we made our foul shots that game, which was good to see. But didn't get over the hump. Credit to those guys. They made plays, and deserved to win, but truthfully, that game was kind of numbing. I was really only thinking about VJ that game.
Right.
I just felt so sorry for him. You know, he had, really had a good week. You know, I thought he was really, really good. He had incredible practices leading up to UMass. He had a really good game against UMass, and he had maybe the best practice of any player on our team has had this season, the game after UMass. And thought he was going to have a really good, rest of his season. And I was really, thinking about him.
Yeah,
that game.
he had come off hitting 3 threes off the bench in the UMass game, and then I think only played maybe 6 or 7 minutes against Loyola Chicago. And how odd is it that he ends up almost with the same identical injury that Ticket had, and both of them just kind of random.
Yeah, I know. One finger away, and disappointing, sad for him, but it's what we got to deal with, and he's going to go through his rehab process. He's had surgery. We're rehabbing and going to get him back.
Do you think there's any residue left over from that game as you went on the road the next game at Duquesne, and you've called it one of either the most frustrating or disappointing games that you've had in the 2 years here at Mason, the 72-52 road loss to the Dukes?
Yeah, it was the worst we've played. Maybe Boston College, but Boston College played incredible, that game. But it was the worst we've played. It was obviously our worst loss since we've been here from a point differential standpoint. Just didn't have it. It was similar to GW, just one of those ugly games. We were, for lack of a better term, we were a mess. And, we just didn't do what we do. We didn't do what we emphasize. We didn't do what we want to do. From the first possession of the game, we were a mess. And, down 7, we watched the film with the team after just a team meeting the day after that game. And the game really wasn't telling of a 23-point loss. It was 2 stretches in the game where it was controllable, where we just were a mess. We were stuck on 16 forever.
Right.
With a ton of opportunities to be disciplined, to be sound, be solid, and we did. And then again in the second half, there were, I think it was a 10:34 mark to 0 at halftime, and then another mark at 15-something to about 10, where we had a chance, but we didn't take advantage of it. And as a coach, sometimes you want to burn the tape, but you just can't do it. You got to learn from it. I think we learned from it. And we were a lot better the next night against URI.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that because I actually have that written down here in my notes of did you just burn the film or do you actually sit them down and say, okay, let's go through this and kind of do a cut-up of here's where we made our mistakes, here's what we need to correct?
Yeah, I've only burnt the film once in my 8 years, plus 4 years as a player. I've only been a part of burning the film once of a bad game. We didn't burn it. We didn't do our normal scrub of breaking down every aspect of the game. Our goals, our transition defense, our offensive rebounding, our defensive rebounding, our offensive execution, our defensive execution. We just took those 2 segments of the game I talked about and watched them with the team and just talked about how we needed to improve as a team beyond basketball and the X's and O's, just from a spirit and passion and enthusiasm standpoint and a communicative standpoint, how we had to improve. And we had a great talk, as good of a talk. Just honestly, me shutting up and listening to the guys talk amongst themselves about the things we need to improve. And I think they've been doing a really good job of that since that meeting.
You got a result that you wanted on Saturday, 75-67 win over Rhode Island. And I imagine right from the jump, Archie Miller, head coach of Rhode Island, trying to make it tough on Josh Oduro. But you guys did a good job putting him in spots where they really couldn't come and double him. 12 of 14 from the field, 27 points. In 2 games combined, he scored over 50 against the Rams.
Yeah, well, having Ticket back helps. It's the one thing about doubling, but it's another thing to double when we have great shooting space out there. When those other 4 guys are all virtually 40% shooters, it's a little harder to converge down on really good passing Josh. But I thought they started off the game really well. We didn't. We changed some stuff up defensively. We got a group out there that just played hard and played together and with passion and enthusiasm. And Ticket's back in his groove, and he brings we lost a lot with losing Ticket. And, you know, having him back was really good. It's good for everyone on the court, just the space. It's who we've been since we've been here, 4 guards and a big. And it was good to see the turnaround from about the 10-minute mark for the rest of the game.
Yeah, Ticket, 15 points, 9 rebounds in the contest. Ronnie Polite, 15 points, 9 assists in the contest. And you guys outscored them in the paint 34-22. And again, to me, watching that game, seeing you get the ball to Josh on the move to the basket, not necessarily sitting him down in the post to throw the ball in and for him to make his move, but pick and rolls to the basket or him facing up from the foul line and being able to drive, thought really, as you talked about, opened up the space for the shooters.
Yeah, however he can get it is good. You know, that if it's sitting down back to the basket, that's good. If it's facing up, that's good. If it's on the roll, that's good. Got to get it to him in a lot of ways. We always do. We always have. Move him all over the court, use him all over the court. He's not, you know, it's no real predictable outcome on how we're going to get Josh the ball.
Did you watch Super Bowl yesterday?
I did. I watched the first half. That was my first NFL game I watched in many of years. So I went up to Baltimore and watched first half with my family, with my dad and some friends, and then I drove back down after the Rihanna show.
Was it kind of weird to you say you haven't watched the game in a while?
Yeah, no, it was entertaining. It was really entertaining first half, you know, especially offensively. You know, no, it was good. It was good to just watch a game for once in a while.
And a good halftime performance too. So
yeah, I thought she was
for that,
incredible.
so that was good.
Yeah, she was incredible. I've been playing Rihanna as I've been driving and from work ever since.
Last week while you guys were on the road at Duquesne, LeBron James breaks the NBA all-time scoring record. Did the guys watch that together? Was their reaction? Did they talk about the history of the game? What was their? Because I imagine there are probably a lot of guys that are LeBron fans, and probably very few of them necessarily know about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and what he meant in the NBA, because clearly he finished playing before a lot of us who were even around. So what was their reaction from that on Tuesday night?
Yeah, we talked about it the next morning, and it was yeah, everyone was, you know, it's impressive. It was kind of, you know, some jokes and laughs amongst the team. You know, the guys were saying, you know, he scored 36 points in 3 quarters, you know, but he couldn't just score 3 more to win the game. You know, but no, it's remarkable. I don't think they really understand the significance of it yet, the magnitude of it yet. I think that's a record that will not be broken in our lifetime. It would require, you know, incredible shooting and incredible longevity for that record. I think he'll score over 40,000 points. So, you know, I think when these guys are older, in their 30s, 40s, or 50s, when they think back and that record still stands, to know that we were all in Pittsburgh watching that night was remarkable. I think of it like when I was watching Kobe's last game. Right. You know, when he scored at 60 points, whatever it was, as a moment I'll never forget.
Yeah, it is interesting because they'll be the guys probably talking to their sons, nephews, whoever it is, and the argument will be, oh, none of these guys today are as good as LeBron was, kind of the same way that some of their dads probably talk about Jordan or Bird or Magic or maybe even Kareem.
Yeah, they better be telling their sons or nephews or nieces or daughters that Michael Jordan was the best. So.
All right, I want to jump here. The NCAA Transformation Committee may recommend that the NCAA tournament expands. They've already said that if there are 200 member institutions playing a particular sport, in this case, we're talking about men's basketball, that 25% of those member institutions should qualify for postseason play. You do the quick math, there are over 360 Division I men's basketball teams out there. 25% would be 90. You and I know the easy math makes it 96. The debate that we always have the day after Selection Sunday is the last 4 teams that didn't make it. That's always the great debate. I would imagine debating 69 to 72 much more relatable than debating the teams 97 to 100. But where do you fall on the expansion if you want to?
I was fine with the NCAA tournament at 64 when I was a player. I was fine when it went to 68. I think it's a great tournament. And I think the reasoning is very legit and valid, that it makes it uniform with the rest of sports that are competing in NCAA sports. And I think if it is 96, I think that's like one more day of games.
Right.
I think. So I'm not, arguing over more basketball at that time. I think it's a great tournament. I don't see, the downside in adding one more day of games.
Do you think it takes away at all this idea that making the tournament is really the ultimate goal and it's so special because it is so hard to do?
Well, I mean, college football has done it forever. I mean,
with bowl games.
Coaches have been getting re-signed because of making a 6-6 bowl forever. And I don't know how many teams get to go to bowl games. But I think advancing in the NCAA tournament is always what culminates a good, successful season. So I'm not, if it's done on the gaze of making it consistent of what else is going on in college athletics, then 25% is the number, 25% is the numbers. But it's not fair to our student athletes, to our basketball student athletes, that 6-6 in a bowl game gets celebrated. And Dayton last season, who beat Miami and Kansas and a bunch of really good teams,
right,
didn't get to participate in the NCAA tournament when they should have. And 25% is 25%.
There you go. All right. Going to take a quick time out. We're going to get Davon Cooper up here to join us. The grad student's going to come up and we'll talk to him. But first, we want to thank our sponsor, the Capital Ale House. Capital Ale House is the official host site for the Mason Basketball Coaches Show with head coach Kim English. Only a mile and a half from Eagle Bank Arena. Capital Ale House has local Virginia-inspired dishes and the largest selection of Virginia-brewed craft beer available. With 100 taps, they are Virginia's beer authority in Mason Nation. And we'll be right back with Davon Cooper. And it's our pleasure to welcome in grad student Davon Cooper here to the Kim English Coaches Show, averaging 10.6 a contest, 3.5 rebounds, second on the team in assists with 76 on the season. You're also second on the team in steals as well. I want to start it right off. You played your first 4 years in college basketball at Morehead State in the state of Kentucky. You grew up in Louisville. We all know Kentucky is an absolutely obsessed with basketball. So what was that like growing up in a state where pretty much, I imagine from the time you were a little kid, it was Louisville versus Kentucky or just basketball at large?
With me, honestly, I didn't start playing basketball until I moved to Louisville, Kentucky. I'm originally born in Denver, Colorado. I moved to Louisville, Kentucky when I was 7. I mean, and honestly, just the rivalry between Louisville and Kentucky has always been big. So just growing up around that, knowing that, and me being an actual player in Louisville, close to Kentucky, 45 minutes, it's been a big rivalry, and it's been a big thing about basketball.
So you moved there when you're 7. Do you remember the first time somebody put a basketball in your hand and you started playing? Because you said you didn't play when you were in Denver as a little kid?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Football, straight football. But, I mean, I shot like basketball, but I never really played organized basketball. So I do remember I went to a tryout, and I tried out for a team, and after that, I fell in love with it.
So when did you stop playing football? Did you play in high school then?
High school, middle school. I stopped my 8th grade in middle school.
What position were you in?
Quarterback.
You were a quarterback.
Yeah.
So did you guys get together as a team or anything and watch the Super Bowl?
Yeah, we did.
Probably pretty impressed then with
Yeah.
both Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Who are you rooting for?
I wanted Philly to win, but we all know how that went.
Yeah, it was a good game though. Now, were most of what was the divide as far as the team, the guys you were watching it? Was everybody on Philly, or was it divided up? Some guys were with KC?
Most people was with Philly. A few of them was with KC.
Okay. Now, we know we just talked about Louisville being a big basketball city, but it's also the home to Muhammad Ali, the great boxer, obviously, and so much more in sports and life in general. You were too young, obviously. I was even too young to really see Ali box. But growing up there in Louisville, did his legacy kind of hang over that city? What do you remember about being told about Ali as you grew up in Louisville?
Honestly, I really didn't hear a lot growing up. After he passed and everything, that's when a lot of that stuff started to come back and everything with his funeral on the highway. I know he had a big event at Muhammad Ali Center. So
Right.
growing up, it wasn't really a big thing, honestly, for me.
But later on, obviously,
Later
you
on,
realized what he meant for the city. All right, I'm going to ask you about your apartment situation now. Saquon and Victor Bailey, your two roommates, right? I had that correct? All right. Of the three of you, who's the messiest? Who is everybody always having to pick up after? Who's just coming in after practice and all of a sudden equipment is everywhere, shoes, socks, whatever it is? Who's the messiest out of the three?
Put me on the spot.
I just want honest answers.
Who's
Damon,
the
that's all.
messiest?
Who's the messiest?
Honestly, our spot honestly stays pretty clean in the living room area.
Okay. So everybody keeps a common space
it's-
pretty well.
yeah, it's
That's
not
good in case you have visitors, you want stuff
Right.
lying around. All right. Out of the three of you, who's more likely to cook a meal at home and who's more likely to order takeout because they can't cook at all?
Saquon does most of the cooking. And takeout, probably me.
Okay.
I'd be having a lot of long days, so I don't feel like cooking or anything, so probably me.
So when Saquon cooks, is it only for him or does he cook for everybody in the apartment? Everybody gets a little bit.
Nah, it's just
It's just for him? Doesn't seem fair, but all right. All right. Do they think it's weird that you eat tuna straight from the can?
You know, honestly, one of my Coach Nate, he put me on the tuna from the can, so I thought it was weird at first too.
Okay.
And then he was like, you just got to try it. You just got to try it. And once I tried it, I was like, it's not that bad. So after that, I just kept eating it. But everybody thinks it's weird. But like I said, you can't knock it until you try it.
That's true. That's fair. And Coach put you onto it, so it's okay. Do you guys have a common TV in the living room, in the living space?
we do.
Who's in charge of the remote? I'm sure there's not too many battles because it's probably mostly basketball when you guys get back in the evening stuff, but who's in charge?
Honestly, most of the time it's me and Saquon in there. Like, Saquon's probably right watching an NBA game right now, honestly. And when
Right.
I go back, I'll probably go straight to the couch and watch an NBA game too. So probably between us two, that's all we do is watch the NBA games, college basketball.
What was your guys' reaction? We just, Coach English just talked about. What was your reaction? You heard him talking about LeBron breaking the record. You guys were up there in Duquesne on the road together. Do you remember at the moment what the conversation was like?
Yeah, it was me, Devin, and Ticket in my room, and we was watching it. It was just, the crazy thing is how they stopped the game for, like 15 minutes
Right.
just for LeBron. I mean, it's a good thing that he did that, but that's mainly the main thing we was talking about was how they stopped the game. But I mean, it's something crazy to do. So we was surprised at how they stopped the game.
Did you guys have an awareness of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and how good he was back in his day?
Nah, we too young for that.
Well, he was retired before
Right,
you were
right,
even
right.
born, so I wouldn't expect. But I just didn't know if you guys, basketball players, historians, looking back on it and saying, "Wow, look, this guy was 6-time MVP," and all these different
Oh,
things.
yeah, things like that, yeah, but I never seen one highlight, though.
You've never seen a skyhook?
I mean, besides the skyhook.
I was gonna say you got to get on YouTube then if you've
The
never seen a
skyhook,
skyhook.
but outside of that, no highlights.
Gotcha. You came to Mason with being a reputation as being a great shooter, but we talked about it, you're closing on 1,500 points, which is remarkable. But you've also gone over 300 assists in your career as well. Talk to me about the anatomy of making a great pass. We saw a couple of them on the highlights that we showed on the folks that are watching on YouTube, little pocket passes to Malik Henry for dunks and throwing it into Josh. Talk to me about what goes into the vision that you have to get somebody a good pass and what that feels like.
Honestly, I think passing is one of the things that I think I'm best at. It's one thing I love to do. Like, I love getting an assist more than making a three, honestly. It gives me more joy. Like a pass to Malik for a dunk, it gives me more joy. And I feel like I'm doing something good for my teammates. So that's always been something that I love to do. And it really just came from the people I grew up around. Like, I grew up around D'Angelo Russell. He's a great passer. And just watching him and watching how he passes and gets his teammates involved, that's something that helped me a lot.
What do you think about him going back to the Lakers now?
I like it.
Good spot?
Yeah, it's a good spot. I don't know how they're going to make it work, but hopefully they do.
Do you like the idea of Kyrie playing in Dallas now? Do you think that they're the favorites in the West, or who do you still like out there? Is it still Denver?
Suns, Phoenix
You like the
Suns.
Suns now. Okay, if Garnett gets back healthy. All right, I
Phoenix Suns.
understand that.
Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and CP, that's dangerous.
It is going to be that the West is going to be a lot more competitive than the East will be, where I think it's just Milwaukee and Boston and kind of everybody else. You talk about being a great passer, but you have scored nearly 1,500 points. So you've gotten in shooting grooves, 5 threes earlier this year against Rhode Island when you scored 20 up there. You had a few of those last season as well. So what's that like for a shooter when you get in that zone and you feel like you can hit anything and everything that you put up? And obviously it doesn't last for an entire season, but those moments, whether it's in a half, in a game, for a weekend, what does that feel like when you just know, if I get a clean look, this thing's going down?
It's hard to explain if you haven't felt it, but it's just when the ball touches your hands and you see it go through the net, the rim is real big, the ball just feels good, and you just know it's going in, and you know that the work that you've put in, that's the reason it's going in.
When you have that type of thing, do you trust that guys like Ronnie Polite are going to get you the ball because they realize, hey, Coop's having one of those nights? Or do you have to go and tell them, hey, guys, I got this. I'm on. Let's go.
No, I trust Ron. I trust Cousin English whenever we run an out-of-bounds play. If he knows I'm going, he's going to call a play to give me a shot. So just all my teammates and the coaches, I trust them with that.
What's obviously the goal after college is to play as long as you can, but eventually everybody has to stop playing basketball professionally. So what is your plan, whether it's 10, 15, however many years down the road? What is it that you are inspired to do after the playing career is over?
I wanna stick with basketball. I would like to be a coach, not a head coach, but assistant or something. And, really just like help people work on their game, be a trainer.
Is that something where you'd want to do it at the college level or even at high school if you could get into something as far as that goes? Or where do you think you would best fit?
College level. Whatever opportunity presents itself, honestly.
All right. Last thing for you, Coop, and again, appreciate you stopping by here. You guys are in kind of a cluster of A-10 teams that are all right there in the middle of the standings, 5, 6, 7 losses. It's all very close, right around 500. 5 games left in the regular season. What do you think needs to be done for you guys to build some momentum going into the A-10 tournament to get yourself moving up the ladder? You've got a couple games with teams that are right around you, starting with GW on Wednesday, but in your mind, what is it that needs to be done with this team to get that momentum going?
Honestly, just us coming together more as a team, and like Coach said, playing with more passion, and just really wanting to have each other's back on the court. And I think we took a big step with that last game against, who did we play?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
Yep.
And,
They all run together after a while, yeah.
And today in practice, I think we had a great day in practice, having a lot of enthusiasm in practice and celebrating each other. So just really just playing with more passion and playing for each other.
How is it like having Ticket back? Because he missed the 10 games, and talking to him, the couple games that he missed right before, I mean, you could tell he was ready to get back and just trying to get out there as much as he can. It's got to be nice to have him back, but what kind of energy and enthusiasm has he brought the last couple of games?
I love playing with Ticket. He just brings, him crashing the offensive glass, I think gives us a lot of energy, and how hard he plays and him making threes. He just gives us that spark. And with him on the floor, I think we're a way better team defensively and offensively because he can spread the floor.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Coop, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Davon Cooper, catch him coming up on Wednesday as the Patriots will take on GW. Once again, we want to thank the Capital Ale House, the official host site for the Mason Basketball Coaches Show with head coach Kim English. Only 1.5 miles from Eagle Bank Arena, Capital Ale House has local Virginia-inspired dishes and the largest selection of Virginia-brewed craft beer available. With 100 taps, they're Virginia's beer authority in Mason Nation. Welcome back, head coach Kim English here on the show. Coach, obviously you had a ton of points in your career as well. Did Cooper describe that feeling when you get in the zone? Obviously, you being a great shooter as well, you probably relate to that. Did he give the idea of what it feels like?
Yeah, it's the best feeling. It's the best feeling in the world. It's euphoric. You can't explain it. There's nothing better, And as a player, you search for that feeling. You really search for it. You want it, and when you get in it, it's called the flow. When you get in the flow and the basket feels big, like some analytics people don't believe in the streak, the hot hand theory.
Right.
They're wrong. Like they're wrong. Like it is more true than gravity. And as a player, you just want to find ways to get back to that moment. And it's similar to being on a great team, that has the feeling of love and brotherhood amongst your teammates, and it translates to winning. And once you feel that feeling trumps the feeling of having a hot hand shooting.
Right.
That feeling of camaraderie on a good team that wins, and you're doing it for each other and you love, and the crowd is just in it, like your home crowd is just a part of it and loud and standing, and it's like, and you're winning. Then you search for that feeling again. Getting into coaching, I've been searching for that feeling again. We got close, at Tennessee with one of our teams, but that feeling, you covet and you search for, and you just want. It's the best feeling in the world.
What advice would you give Davon as far as going into coaching?
We'll talk about that as he's going to play and make a lot of money playing basketball for a long time. When it's time to cross that bridge, we'll talk about what it takes to be a great coach and learn the game. And you have to learn every aspect of this business, from recruiting to developing and to learn the game from an X's and O's standpoint. I'll hire him if he doesn't turn the ball over the rest of the season. And if he makes all his free throws, I'll hire him.
It is interesting because we've had a couple of guys that have come on, and I guess it's not unusual because this has been, for a lot of these guys, it's been their life since they were 7, 8, 9 years old, that they've talked about wanting to stay with basketball and to get into coaching when their career is done.
Yeah, it's cool to hear, and you will see, I think a lot of young people kind of say that because it is all we've done in the winters since we were 7 years old, is be on basketball teams, so that first winter without it, I'm sure it's going to feel weird. I haven't experienced a winter without basketball since I was a child. We'll see after they get older and they make money and they get involved with other things and other ventures if it's still what they want to do. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful to, be a part of this game that we love so much and get to impact the lives of young people. And see them go on and have success and get families and lives and careers. It's really fun.
Got a big game coming up on Wednesday with GW, a chance to leapfrog them in the A-10 standings with a win. Obviously, looking back at the first meeting, you guys have to find a way to make things tough on their two-guard tandem of James Bishop and Brendan Adams, who played really well here at Eagle Bank Arena.
Yeah, we were a mess. We didn't defend well. We didn't take care of the ball. We were a mess. I don't think the first game was indicative of the way we play at all. We shot the ball well in the second half, but ready to play.
Yeah, you talked about not wanting to get into a track meet or a scoring fest.
Yeah, not about a track meet. I don't mind the speed or the pace of the game. We need to make sure we're doing our process defensively, and that's keeping teams. We want to hold teams to under 40% from the field. We didn't want it to be a game where we're shooting 58 and they're shooting 58. They're one of the best offensive teams in our league. They can score 90, 100 easily. And when you do that, when you decide to play that way, it's a toss-up. Anyone can win. You want to be able to string some stops together.
They've also got, obviously, Maximus Edwards, 4 times now A-10 Rookie of the Week. He just got that award again today. So they've got talent over there on that other side.
No, they have incredible talent. James, Brennan, Ricky Lindo, Hunter Dean, some really good guys that have been there for a long time and played together. And the kid Edwards, the transfer from Kansas State, is a really good young a talent, and he's a redshirt a freshman. So he's been in college, he's been through it, he's experienced it, and no, he's a really talented team.
I was talking to Coop about it, but I'll ask you the same thing. So many teams just jumbled right there in the middle of the standings in the A-10. A lot of opportunities here in these last 5 games to move up in the standings. You've got games like against GW coming up on Wednesday. Teams that are ahead of you in the standings. Obviously, frustrated with a couple of games that one bounce here or there goes differently. You would be higher up in the standings, but you have the opportunity to kind of control where you end up.
Yeah, you are what your record says you are. Frustrating. We lost games like at St. Louis, St. Joe's, GW, some of the at Bonnie, some of the frustrating close possession games that we lost. But it doesn't matter about the log jam. It just matters. There's 5 games, right? And there were 6 before the other day. There's 1 game to play on Wednesday at 7, and then there's 1 game to play Saturday at 4. And it's to focus on 1 game at a time. The log jam, the standings, the tiebreakers, all that stuff takes care of itself. It's like I said, Duquesne was picked to finish 15th in our league. All that stuff takes care of itself.
Right.
When you play the games. So that's the only thing that matters is us on Wednesday at 7 p.m. In D.C.
It will jump not to look past GW, obviously, but the next home game is Saturday, 4 o'clock, LaSalle. We're not going to get into breaking anything down, but it's homecoming. And obviously that's always a big game, a big crowd out there. You guys obviously want to get as many students and other fans out as possible because, as you talked about and Cooper talked about it, that feeding off that crowd and making them feel a part of the good things that are going on is only helpful.
I want to make a plea to the university right now. I want to get a basketball representation at orientation in the fall. All right? So let's get this message to President Washington or, admissions or student life. I want to get a basketball representation to teach our student section how to stand, how to cheer, how to chant at basketball games. Because with the enrollment at Mason being what it is, I do think we have an opportunity to really impact Mason basketball for the next decade if we do it right. And when it's right, our home crowd is incredible. I know we're talking to game day operations, how we can make game day better and better and better. But, if we're the largest public university in the Commonwealth of Virginia, we should be feeling it at home games. We play pretty well at home. We could really have, the best atmosphere in our league. Next orientation, fall 2023, like basketball representation, to give us 15 minutes with the next freshman class. Can we get that done?
I mean, I'm sure you've got Dr. Washington on speed dial better than I do, but yes, I would agree with you. Let's get it done. Last thing, talking about homecoming and getting the crowd out there. It's got to be pretty cool, and you did your obviously undergrad at Missouri and then coaching at Tennessee and other places, that homecoming was always about the football team. But at Mason, it's the basketball team. That's got to be pretty cool for your program and the guys that are on the team, that they are, for lack of a better term, the sport that is everybody rallies around when it comes to homecoming.
Yeah, I hadn't ever seen anything like it last season. Too bad we didn't play well, the VCU game last year. But the pregame, the tailgating, the atmosphere in the parking lot, the energy in the arena that day was incredible. It was palpable. The buzz was really, really, really good. So obviously we got to take care of Wednesday, and if we can't take care of Wednesday, it just makes Saturday that much better. But I'm really excited to see a full Eagle Bank Arena. In every game during the national anthem, it's on us, right? It's on us, our staff. It's on me, our players, to win enough to give the people of Fairfax, of Northern Virginia, George Mason people a reason to come out to our games. But we are building it. We are getting there. But I look up and I see, you know, the high seats, the empty seats. And I think about right now what it's going to feel like when every game, you know, it's filled. And homecoming last year was our biggest crowd, I believe. And hopefully we can do that again this Saturday at 4.
And we will look forward to that, Coach. Thank you. As always, we appreciate you coming out and doing the Coaches Show. Good luck on Wednesday against GW. And yes, of course, we will talk about it. Tickets coming up for homecoming this week. LaSalle on Saturday, 4 p.m. for the program's annual homecoming game. Lower level tickets start at just $10. So come on out and see the Patriots as they take on LaSalle. And once again, we'd like to thank Capital Ale House, the official host site for the Mason Basketball Coaches Show with head coach Kim English. Only a mile and a half from Eagle Bank Arena, Capital Ale House has local Virginia-inspired dishes and the largest selection of Virginia-brewed craft beer available with 100 taps. They're Virginia's beer authority in Mason Nation. Again, thanks to everybody coming out here at the Capital Ale House, everybody watching at home. We will see you Saturday, 4 o'clock at Eagle Bank Arena.